Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If it's still cold where you are, you most likely have your heater on. Look, I know that it's not a common thing to think about your furnace. It normally doesn't even come up unless it breaks down and a dad or husband thinks he can fix it, from what I've heard. In the end, after about a month, you always need to call a furnace guy because the dad or husband can never fix it because they never can. Don't lie to me. I know that that's how it works. I was watching TV, a lot like this, and an Empire commercial came on.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
And I couldn't help but think, who invented the furnace? I wanted to know. And by golly, I learned it was a woman, an African American woman at that. God, all these inventions I'm learning about, bless you, whoever sneezed. And black people made them and I had zero knowledge of it. You know what, I'm not gonna go into any more of that. Anyway, a black chick made your furnace. Her name is Alice H. Parker. Let's get started. My hands are sweaty. Putting that thing in. This thing keeps your hands warm, I'm just saying. I need to tell you before we go on, she is probably the most difficult person I have had to research so far. Like, little to nothing is known about her. Like, people can't even decide what she looks like. She is truly a hidden figure, so I'm going to do my very best to do her justice. All right, here we go. Alice H. Parker was born and raised in 1995 in Morristown, New Jersey. Like I said, very little is known about her personal life, but what we do know is that she was insanely smart. She graduated with honors from Howard University Academy in Washington, D.C. in 1910. Howard University Academy is an African-American university that accepted both male and female students since its founding in November of 1866, shortly after the Civil War ended. It was a high school that was connected to Howard University. I know, it's very unique. According to the 1920 Morristown census, Alice worked as a kitchen cook and lived with her husband, Edward Parker, who was a butler. Let me paint you a picture here. At the time of Alice's life, the Civil War had ended. I'm not going to get into the Civil War, because just not. At that time, a central gas heating or a furnace had not been developed yet. It was just a fireplace and burning wood or coal. Interestingly, and I'm gonna blow your mind here because this blew my mind, the overall concept of a furnace and a central heating type system had been around since the Roman Empire. I'm telling you, look, America has invented some really cool stuff. It really has. I mean, the Batmobile bed. That's pretty freaking sick. But the Roman Empire is the foundation of everything that we have in life. We all know that public bathrooms started in the Roman Empire, right? If not, the more you know. But the science and technology of it barely advanced in the hundreds of years that followed, and the traditional heating methods used by the end of the 19th century were still primitive. Basically, until Alice, heating ourselves had barely changed since the cavemen. I mean, think about that. Queen Elizabeth was a child and we didn't have furnaces. Furnaces? Is that a word? Furnaces? Anyway, here's how Alice saw a need and fulfilled it. While living with her family in their small home, she found it hard to heat her entire home at the same time during the brutal winters in New Jersey. East Coast winters are rough. I mean, winters alone are rough. I live in Utah. We know how winters here, but East Coast winters.
It was one of the city's biggest single-day January snowfalls on record. Homes were encased in a shell of snow and ice.
No, thank you. Another thing is, if you've ever watched any movie set in the 1800s and before, there was a fireplace or stove in every room in the house, building, or castle. I just like castles. That was central heating. I'm telling you, go back and watch all Disney movies where we go into a castle. There's a fireplace in every room. You can make that a drinking game. Alice thought there had to be a better and easier way to heat a whole house all at once. So she went on to invent the first gas furnace that was powered by natural gas. Using gas and air ducts that could be connected to other rooms and evenly distributed heat throughout the building or castle became the first heating system. In easier-ish terms, Alice figured out how to take an independently controlled burner or furnace that took air from the outside, turned that air into warm air or a heat exchanger, which would feed that warm air into individual ducts or pipes that could control the amount of heat in different areas of the house. What all that means is her invention was essentially the first form of zone heating, where temperature can be controlled into different parts of a home. This type of heating is extensively used today. Hence why you have those freaking apps on your phone now where you can just tap heat bedroom, heat garage for peak's sake, heat shed for peak's sakes, and not have to go over and light up a match. Which, speaking of that, let's look at a different way of how revolutionary her invention was. This was before sliced bread. Was it? Alexa, when was sliced bread invented?
Otto Frederick Roeder of Davenport, Iowa, invented the first single loaf bread slicing machine. A prototype he built in 1912 was destroyed in a fire, and it was not until 1928 that Roeder had a fully working machine ready. The first commercial use of the machine was by the Chillicothe Baking Company.
Alexa, stop. 1912 was when sliced bread was invented. That's weird. Us in the modern age have no idea the struggle to just keep yourself warm. Back then, people had to get up, go out, get coal from a store, or chop wood by hand. I mean, if the guy's hot, it doesn't really matter anyway. Bring it back home in the cold and or a blizzard, put it into a fireplace or stove and start a fire. Plus, you had to keep putting wood or coal on the fire to keep it going for as long as you wanted it to. Sometimes that meant going back out in a blizzard and chopping more wood or going to a store in 7-foot snow to get more coal from the freaking store. Now, with Alice's invention, you can just get up from your couch or just get out your phone, push a button, and you get heat. And it's only been barely 100 years since her invention. What her invention also did, I think once you hear this, it'll make sense. It decreased the chances of a house burning down. Because if you think about it, not too hard at least, having a fire in your house, not a good idea. Plus, fire makes smoke. Don't know if you knew that. And having smoke in your house sucks for the health factor. Makes the health stuff suck. Alice filed her patent on July 8th, 1918 for her heating system invention, and her patent was approved on December 23rd, 1919. Merry Christmas to her. Her invention is known today as the HVAC system. I know. When Alice filed her patent, it was a monumental feat because this was before the Civil Rights Movement and the Women's Liberation Movement. It just makes her accomplishment all the more awesome. I mean, women couldn't even vote, and she made a freaking furnace and got it patented. Perspective. I can't vote, but I'm cold. I'm gonna invent the furnace. One thing to note, many inventions and patent, mush. Many inventions and patents don't get much credit, or as in Alice's case, financial gain. But I couldn't find anything about what she did with that dilemma. I'm telling you, this research was so frustrating. As you learn by now, I like to dig deep. Although her invention had a massive impact in the early design, it came with a few downsides. The design posed health and safety risks as it made appliances like the oven more flammable and unsafe to touch. There was also a supposed security risk with the regulation of the heat flow. I couldn't find what that really meant. So, I mean, maybe it's the heat flow from the outside to the inside, do all the little thingamabobs, and then goes outside, and that's a security risk. And nobody's gonna steal heat. I don't know how you could steal heat. Maybe it's a security risk because people can steal the heat. I don't know. Here is where things get murky, and I need to mention this because you need to come on this journey with me. And why I say she was the most difficult person I've had to research so far, not saying there won't be, but this is why she was really hard to figure out. Let me explain. Since we don't know much about Alice, there is little evidence on who she is. What I mean by that is that there's essentially 2 to 3 Alices. Let me explain. The earliest mention of Alice's patent was in The Crisis, an official publication of the NAACP in February of 1920. It was a list of accomplished African Americans called the Horizon. What is a really cool name? I like that name. It included, quote, Alice H. Parker, a graduate of Howard University, has been issued a United States patent for a heating furnace, end quote. That same quote was in a similar list called the Colored Citizens, which is also a really cool name, in an edition of Caton's Weekly, an African-American newspaper, on March 13th, 1920. Now, obviously, the process of filling out a patent and inventing the freaking furnace is hard. I mean, the patent's hard. The furnace, I mean, a 6-year-old could do that. Just give me some Legos. And the person needs to be very sophisticated, obviously well-educated, and obviously highly intelligent. However, according to Howard University's alumni office, the only record of an Alice Parker graduated in 1939. Remember, the patent was granted in 1919, but this Alice was born in Virginia. Stay with me. According to a 1910 commencement program from Howard University Academy, it lists an Alice H. Parker from Clifton, Virginia, among the graduates in 1910, the same year our Alice graduated. So, it's possible that our Alice in the New Jersey census that went to Howard University Academy is the inventor. It is also possible that the Alice working as a cook in New Jersey is the inventor and attended Howard University, but under an unknown birth name. But it's unlikely that both of these are untrue at the exact same time. Do you see why this was such a difficult, I spent longer than I normally do on these things. This one, we can't even agree on what she looks like. Some people think that this version of her that is more widely known is a whitewashed version of her. But as we learned with Freddie Washington, you can look more white, but you're still black. It's completely possible that she could just be this light, especially in black and white photos. I mean, everybody looks either white or really black, and those that are mixed look white, okay? So it just annoys me that I don't know about her because I don't like not knowing about her. Okay, look, regardless, Alice's invention was the biggest invention since harnessing electricity in 1878 in London. Yeah, fun fact, the first electricity used, I don't know how else to put it, to light a street was in 1878 London. Look it up. Though Alice did have an attorney to help her in gaining her patent, as seen on her application, she deserves huge props for navigating the complexity of the patent process largely on her own. I mean, she invented the furnace, so the patent office shouldn't be that hard. Though her heating furnace has adapted seamlessly into modern smart home technology, which is projected to be in more than 60% of homes by 2026, there is no heating or cooling company named after her. Yeah, there is no heating company, at least a heating company, that is named after the person that invented the freaking heating thing. You invented the furnace, and there's not a furnace company named after you. I think that needs to change. And except for her patent application, there is no evidence that she had any kind of scientific research. I mean, in my mind, you kind of need some sciencey knowledge to know how to make the freaking furnace. It is also very likely that with her being a black woman in the early 1900s, lessened her opportunities to get into the scientific research needed, again, to make the freaking furnace. But as we've seen, obviously she was super smart and a very determined housewife to not have soot in her home, that she invented the furnace by winging it. That's my theory. She could have just been a woman at home, sick of cleaning up soot in her home, and was like, there has to be a better way, and invented the furnace. In my mind, she was just sick of dusting every day and invented the furnace because she was sick of dusting. I mean, if you think about it, every invention that are whatever's today were invented by people who were like, I'm just sick of this. With also not knowing who she is, we also don't know how or exactly when she died. It is commonly thought that she died at some point in 1920 at the age of 25 from a heat stroke or a fire. I don't know. Either way, it was heat related. Talk about irony, man. Even though we know almost nothing about her, her legacy lives on with many models and products of her invention, including AC building units. Many organizations celebrate Alice's cultural and historical achievements with awards and grants. In 2019, the National Society of Black Physicists honored Alice as an, quote, African-American inventor famous for her patented system of central heating using natural gas, end quote. The New Jersey Chamber of Commerce established the Alice H. Parker Women Leaders in Innovation Awards in 2019 to honor women who use their, quote, talent, hard work, and outside-the-box thinking to create economic opportunities and help make New Jersey a better place to live and work, end quote. New Jersey has made a massive effort to gain more information about Alice. Also, in 2019, New Jersey claimed her as a native resident. There you go. That's the story of the person who invented your furnace. Again, it's something that we don't normally think about, but you have Alice H. Parker to thank for your heat in the winter and your cool in the summer. And it's so frustrating to not know anything about a woman that, or anyone who made such a landmark invention. And I really hope I did her justice, because she deserves to have her story told. If you learned something today, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And while you're down there, please leave a friendly comment. I will be back next week with another video. Until then, don't be well behaved. You just might make herstory. See you next time, guys.